Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NMB Global. Have you ever wondered what it's like to fly business class on board British Airways in their Club World club suites? Well, today, if you come with us, you're going to find out. We're off from London Heathrow's Terminal 5 through to Toronto in Canada for an 11:40 a.m. flight. We started our morning here at the Premier Inn M4 Junction 4, where we stayed last night, just to save the stress of the morning, really. So come with us, and you'll see what it's like to fly in Club World. So we started our morning at around 6 a.m. where we got up and got ready to leave at 7:30. The airport is only around a 10-minute drive from the Premier Inn that we stayed in last night. And although our flight isn't until 11:40, we wanted to make the most of the time that we had at the airport and in the lounge, so we decided to get there a bit earlier. As I said in the intro, we stayed in the Premier Inn the night before just for the convenience of being close to the airport, as we are around 2.5 hours from where we live to Heathrow. We did drive in rush hour again, as we have done in a previous video, and we hit no traffic at all, which was great. But we certainly didn't want to take that risk this morning. So yet again, we're parking at Heathrow Pod Parking at Terminal 5, which is our favourite way to get from the car park to the terminal, as you just hop on the little pod and you're straight in there, and it's absolutely perfect. We are part of the Heathrow Rewards, which is where when you park at any Heathrow official parking, you collect 1 point for every £1, which can be converted into airline miles. And this isn't just for BA, it can be used for any airline that you have loyalty with. For example, Virgin, Lufthansa, Qatar, any of those that you decide to fly with frequently. We parked up the car and headed over to the Station B pod terminal, where we had a short wait and hopped straight onto a pod. As we have said before, the journey is only around 5 minutes from the pod terminal into Terminal 5, so it doesn't take long at all, and it is definitely better than waiting for a bus. You also get some great views of the runway and the planes on your way in. We do appreciate that the pod parking does come at a premium cost, but for us it's totally worth it, as we've had experiences before at Heathrow when we've landed back here and waited over an hour for a bus back to the car park. So for us it's definitely worth it, as after your through arrivals you can be back at your car within 10 minutes. So you can't really beat it, to be honest. So once you get off the pod, you just want to head over to the lifts, where you need to go up to floor 5, where you'll find departures. And here we are entering the British Airways Terminal 5 terminal, where we're going to walk through here and head over to find the Club World check-in. We did actually check in online, and we did already have our boarding passes, but when we checked in, it advised us that we needed to head over to the check-in area when we arrived at the airport, because they wanted to tell us about the advanced CAN app that we needed to download for when we arrived in Canada, which was basically like a pre-clearance thing, a bit like the NPC app that you get in America. And although we're only going to Canada for 4 nights, we still had quite a few bags to check in, because obviously it's freezing cold there in February, and we had lots of warm winter gear we needed to pack. Flying Club World, you are allowed to bring 2 32 kg suitcases per person to put in the hold, as well as your usual cabin allowance as well. We used the fast track security lane, which we had access to through Flying Club World, and also as silver status members too. Although this did take quite a bit longer than it usually does. I think the machines weren't working properly. Every single tray that went through the x-ray machine ended up needing to be checked by a person, which was a bit weird. The staff let us know at check-in that we were flying from the C gates today, but no specific gate was given. But it did mean we could use the B gates lounge, which is actually our favourite lounge to go to, but we don't get to use it very often, because usually once you get to the B gates area, there's no way of getting back to the main terminal unless you take a 20-minute walk, which is not something that you would want to risk when you see your gate come up on the board. And it's mainly long-haul flights that go from the B and the C gates, which we don't take overly often. But we will also get to use them on our next trip when we go to Abu Dhabi. So once we arrived in the lounge, it was the main usual drink selection that you can find in any of the British Airways lounges, usually a pretty good selection of alcohol and soft drinks. But the best thing about the B Gates lounge is where you can order food, like we did here. We got a muffin. They also had a cinnamon bun station, which was pretty cool. And it just makes a change from the usual buffet selection, which they did also have though. Another unique feature of the B Gates lounge is the Whispering Angel bar, which is really nice. We did have to try a couple of these drinks. When I first saw this section last January, I thought it was just a temporary pop-up, but it's still here, so there you go. We decided to set up base at the far end of the lounge where we had a great view of the runway and the planes outside. And because we got to the airport so early, we had a good couple of hours to sit and enjoy the food and drink here at the lounge. And then at 10:30, our gate finally appeared on the board. We were getting a bit tetchy because it was the only flight where the gate wasn't up yet, even though further flights in the day had their gate number. But it's all good. It confirmed that we were off to gate C65. We needed to hop back on the train for one more stop. We had a bit of a wait for the train again here, so just remember to make sure you leave enough time to get from the B gates to the C gates. Although there wasn't as many people waiting here as there was at the main terminal to the B and C gates, so that was a plus. So far we've been really lucky this morning and haven't faced any challenges in anticipation for our flight, and we've really enjoyed our time here at the airport and at the lounge. Initially, when we booked this trip, we were meant to be flying on a 777-200, but last minute, I think it was the day before, the plane changed to a 777-300, which meant all of our seats got moved. There was 3 of us travelling, so we were all meant to be 2 at the window, 1 on the aisle, and now we were 1 at the window and 2 in the middle. But all is well because we were still in the club suites and not in the yin-yang layout. But don't worry, if you are a Yin Yang fan, our aircraft has changed coming home as well, so you'll get to see that. So off the train and up the escalators towards the gate, we had a short wait here where they eventually called for Group 0 and families and people with assistance are able to board. And as usual, it's all the passengers in economy that are stood in the queue. After they called these groups, we then had a bit of a significant wait in them calling any other groups to board. They said over the tannoy that it was because the pilots were not on the plane, but we did see the pilots walk past us eventually with 2 Starbucks drinks in hand. Interesting. You can't blame them though, because who can really start a day at work without their morning caffeine? It was then time to board, and here is our lovely Boeing 777-300. We were situated in row 7 in the Club World Club Suites today in seats E, F and K, as there was 3 of us travelling. This boarding display here on the jet bridge was full of incorrect information, as it was set up for the plane to be operating a first class cabin, which it wasn't, and the Club World actually did go back 26 rows, I believe. And here we are, here is our club suite. So this was seat 7K, which was a window seat. The only thing about this one is that the window was set quite far back, whereas the lady in front of me had 2 windows. First thing to notice, this cupboard, bottle of water, no amenity kit, and a bit of a broken bit in there, which we'll come back to later. It had quite a large HD screen, which was very responsive. It did also have a remote control as well. Really generous amount of legroom where I can't even reach the cubby, but I am only 5'1", so there we go. Here's the seat controls, so the seat does go into a full lie flat bed. Lots of storage space. I have already put my stuff in here just to keep it out of the way, but we had this one, the one next to it, as well as the initial cupboard that I showed you. So as you can see on the right there is that bit that looks like it's hanging off, and it well and truly was hanging off. It had been fixed obviously with a bit of Velcro, which was no longer effective. And there was quite a big scratch down the side of the cupboard, but that's fine, doesn't really affect the use of it. Obviously, a big difference between the Yin Yang seats and the club suites is the privacy door that it has. Now, it doesn't come up overly high, so people walking through the aisle can see over, but it's just enough to make you feel like you've got your own private space. I'm just showing you here, as I forgot in the last clip, that this little storage space contained the headphones, which were actually really nice, noise cancelling. And then we also had a bit more storage underneath the seat as well, like this little part here. I don't really know what it was meant to be used for, but I put my shoes in there and my trainers fit perfectly, so they were kept out of the way nicely. And here I am showing you again the lovely big scratch on the door of the cupboard. It was fine. I mean, it's a bit of an eyesore. It doesn't really affect the use of it though. And my nice glass of welcome champagne. So here is the in-flight entertainment. There was movies, TV programmes, series, games, some stuff that I recognised, some that I didn't. There was probably some new things on here and some older ones as well. But overall, there was a massive variety, enough to cover all sorts of different age groups. I have been fortunate enough to fly on a similar product with Finnair, and I do find that British Airways have a lot more variety. But then again, that could be due to Finnair being a much more niche product, and they have a certain target audience, I suppose. And as you can see, I'm still flicking through here, so there is an endless amount of things to choose from, which is exactly what you want when you're flying long haul. This flight was 7.5 hours, so there was plenty of things to choose from to keep you going for the whole flight. Are you someone that likes to watch stuff on a plane? Let us know in the comments. We were then presented with the menu from the cabin crew, and I'm just going to show you here. So we've got the bar menu to start with, so your usual cocktails, mocktails, spirits, beers and soft drinks, plenty to choose from. And then we move on to the food options. So we had our main meal and then a pre-landing meal as well. Doe & Co have provided the food for the catering today. I'm not going to read all the options out to you. You should be able to see them there. But it was a very elegant selection of food to choose from, and we were very impressed. And at the back of the menu is the wine list. Now I have to say, me and my partner really do enjoy the British Airways wine selection. I feel like it's really paired to the food selections, but let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think that it goes well with the options that we were given today? We got to pre-order our drink for just after takeoff, and I went with the Sauvignon Blanc here. And I have to say, the cabin crew never left your glass half empty. They were constantly topping it up, and it was absolutely lovely. Just ignore the fact that I had this Epcot program loaded up onto my screen. I was just trying to convince my partner to book another trip to Disney, whilst also trying to figure out how to use the tray table. A bit fiddly, had to pull the flap down and then pull a bar underneath, but it opened up into sort of a double flap tray situation. It was quite big, it moved forwards and backwards as well, fit all the food on, and I was just showing you that I could get out quite easily with it open. Perfect if you need the toilet whilst you've still got food and drink on your tray. Next up is the amenity kit. Now, as I noted earlier, there was no amenity kit in the cupboard. I did ask the cabin crew if we were meant to have one, which obviously I knew we was, but that was just my little hint that I didn't have one. She said, has anybody actually got one? And nobody did, so there we go. Not what you'd expect from a business class seat, but it was resolved in the end, so no issues. So we have the usual things inside the amenity kit that I'm just trying to show you here with one hand, which proved to be quite difficult. But we had a pair of socks, an eye mask, some earplugs, some moisturiser, very nice. We also had this rollable lavender pulse point scent thing that was meant to help you relax. It did work, I think, because I did go to sleep shortly after. Also some lip balm and a toothbrush and toothpaste, which, I mean, you have to use it on a long flight. If you don't, that's pretty gross. What do you think of the amenity kit and the things that it had inside it, and how does it compare to other airlines? Let us know in the comments. And I forgot to mention, it was from the White Company. As we started pushing back from the stand slightly later than planned, British Airways safety demonstration video, slightly cringy, came on the screens. And here is our Boeing 777-300 pushing back from the stand at the sea gates here at Heathrow. Now we have quite a long taxi over to the runway today as we're at the sea gates, around 30 minutes over to runway 27 right. So as I said before, we were meant to be taking off at 11:40. I think at this point it was around 12:30, so only around 50 minutes later than expected. Could be worse, could have been on time, but that's the sort of thing that happens when you're flying. So as we continue our taxi to the runway, it's a good opportunity to have an overview of the club suite so far. Now I have been fortunate enough to fly on the yin yang seats from London Gatwick, as well as the club suites and Finnair, and I have to say I do really enjoy the privacy that you get with these club suites. It's really nice to be able to just shut the door and have your own space. But when it was just me and my partner travelling from London Gatwick, we did also enjoy the yin yang layout, as it felt like it was easier to communicate. Although we didn't sit next to each other in the club suites in the middle where we could have had an element of being able to speak to each other, I think the yin yang is often better for that as you're opposite each other. So it's finally time to take off, so I will let you enjoy the clip of us taking off, and I'll be back with you in a minute. And we are finally up in the air, beautiful views down below. So as soon as the seatbelt signs were turned off, we were given hot towels from the cabin crew, which was really nice just to freshen up as we had been up very early this morning. And I'm just showing you here again the privacy that this door really does provide. I did have to reach up quite high to be able to show you the rest of the cabin over the door. And there was a very calm and peaceful presence of this particular cabin that we were in today. See, this is what you would expect from a business class cabin, but there were multiple different sections of business class on this aircraft today, and we were in the front section, and it was very chilled and calm. So here I am just showing you that I'm putting my bed into lie flat mode as soon as we've taken off, which is an essential for the ultimate comfort, ready to chill out and enjoy the rest of the flight. Although I am quite short and I find that most places that I sit are spacious and roomy, even my partner at 6'2" admitted that these seats in particular felt like there was lots of legroom and lots of space. We were then given the drink that we had pre-ordered prior to takeoff alongside this salted rosemary snack mix, which is a basic on British Airways. It's just sort of a selection of different nuts, and this was very much enjoyed. It was about an hour and a half until the first meal was served, so until that point I was just doing a bit of reading on the Kindle, wasn't watching anything as of yet. The galley was just behind us and we heard them getting the meals ready. So starters came first, and I had ordered the charred cauliflower with roasted baby artichoke, truffle cream and parmesan crumble. To be completely honest, I wasn't a massive fan of this. I assumed the charred cauliflower would be the main focus point of the dish, but it was actually the artichoke. My partner went for the seared tuna and avocado with tomato, wasabi coleslaw and jalapeno lime dressing. In his words, he said it was peng, which is unusual language for him as he's usually quite sophisticated, but there we go, he must have really enjoyed it. For main course, I went for the mushroom and spinach stuffed chicken breast with roasted potatoes and chicken velouté. This was really, really nice and I enjoyed this a lot. I was a bit worried about the mushroom part of the meal, but luckily that was just sort of in the middle, so I was able to eat around that. Then for dessert, I had the crispy chocolate and hazelnut praline bar with salted caramel. Oh my god, this was amazing. I love this. For dessert, my partner went for the warm apple and blackberry bread and butter pudding with vanilla custard, and he said that this was also very good. So all in all, the first meal service was a big success with us and we enjoyed it a lot and don't really have any complaints about anything that we had. So to be completely honest, after we ate the first meal, I fell asleep for about 3 hours. I mean, this could partly be due to the fact that I did a night shift before and then we were up really early, or the fact that the cabin crew had our wine topped up the whole time. Either or, I slept great on the lie flat bed, really comfortable and didn't wake up at all. When I eventually did wake up, there was only 2 hours left of the flight, and I was a bit disappointed to be honest, because I hadn't had a chance to do anything yet. I hadn't watched any TV, I hadn't watched any films, all I'd done was read a bit of my book. Then already it was time for more food again. Now I chose not to have anything at this point as I wasn't really hungry, but my partner went for the pesto chicken and cheese sandwich on a homemade brioche bun. This also came with another salad and a chocolate chip muffin. So instead of getting the main meal, I did get a chocolate chip muffin and a glass of water with a packet of crisps. I wasn't really feeling a meal, just a little bit snacky, and thought we'd better eat something before we get into Toronto. The muffin was unreal though, it was all warm and gooey in the middle. So I forgot to show you the remote control at any point on this flight. So here it is. As you can see, there's only 1 hour left until landing. The remote control synced up well with the TV screen. You're able to control everything from there on the screen. The flight today had been really smooth. We experienced no turbulence from what I can remember. I mean, it didn't wake me up while I was asleep, so that has to be a good sign. Then just before landing, we were given another warm towel, which was very well received, to have a second freshen up. Also, I did brush my teeth at this point too. Another glass of water and a Lindor chocolate, and then it was time for landing. As we now commence our final approach into Toronto Pearson Airport, I thought this would be a good opportunity to summarise the experience that we've had today. Looking back from when we stayed at the Premier Inn overnight, this allowed a really smooth morning with no stress and no traffic. all the way through Heathrow Airport, where we were told that our gate would be in the C gates, allowing us to attend our preferred lounge at the B gates. This was really well received, as we didn't have any stress about wondering which gate we were going to be taken off from today. As we mentioned before, the boarding process was a little bit long, unorganised and messy. Now, I don't really know the real reason as to why it was like that, but yeah, it felt a bit chaotic at that point. When we got on the plane, the staff throughout were really friendly. We didn't have just one member of staff serving us throughout our flight, there was multiple, and each and every one of them were really kind and helpful. I truly believe that BA's crew can really make or break a flight in whatever cabin that you're in. The flight itself was really enjoyable and the food and drink was really good. Despite the minor scratches and broken parts of the seat, we had a great time, and it really was a good reflection of one of BA's premium cabins. It will be very interesting to see if this is the standard that we'll receive on our journey home in a few days' time. We have now landed into a snowy Toronto airport with around a 15-minute taxi to the gate. I feel like this would be a perfect time for me to mention that if any of you guys are coming to Canada soon from the UK, to remember to download the Arrive Can app. It saved us so much time at border control and meant that we pretty much just went straight through. We were told about this initially from the BA crew when we checked in, otherwise we wouldn't have known, so hopefully this helps you out. So off the plane and through immigration, which it literally took seconds, it was no time at all. The problem that we had at the airport was how long it took for our bags to come out. There were multiple flights using this same baggage reclaim belt. We thought that our bags were coming, and then we checked the board and it was actually bags from another flight. And all in all, I think we waited around an hour here before our bags finally came out. But it is important to mention that this is not a reflection on British Airways. It's completely out of their control, and it's more an airport-specific problem. And here we are, finally leaving Toronto Airport, about to start our 5-day trip in Canada. We're very excited for this, never been to Canada before, and we will be heading to Niagara Falls at some point as well. As we headed out to the Uber pickup point, we really noticed how bitterly cold it was. It really smacked you in the face. We really hope that you've enjoyed seeing British Airways' Club World through our eyes today, and if you did enjoy, then please like, comment and subscribe, and we will see you for the return journey.